Thank you very much, also for the invitation. Before we start this presentation, I would like to share something with you. We heard a lot about the multidisciplinary need, or the interdisciplinary need. And over time, I was blessed with one thing. I was blessed that I could also communicate with the psychologists, the occupational therapists, the physiotherapists, the nurses. And it's very important as an implanter that you also talk to them. You're gonna learn a lot from them. This is an opportunity for all of us. I've learned many, many things. I've learned even how to act in real life. We are blessed that we have all those people around us as well. So, in life, we are always in rapport with people. People in general. Pain physicians, we all are dealing with patients, difficult ones. And from the many years of experience, I've learned three things. It's not only about pain patients, but it's also a general rule for people in general. And there are three rules. The first rule is people forget. People forget. And pretty easy. Very fast. It's like a child. You give something, a treat, you retract that treat, and they think it's the most horrible thing in the world. People do forget. This is something that we have learned also in pain medicine. The second rule is the meat is weak. Some are weaker than others, that's true. However, as a human being, we're always searching for the easiest way, with the less hurdles. If I am too fat, I have to go on a diet. I would like to ask a pill, medication, prior to do some exercise. My meat is weak. In pain medicine, it's also the same. Instead of doing physiotherapy, they want to have a DBS. They want to have surgery for a better result. The third rule is the most important rule. And that rule is everybody lies. Physicians, your mother-in-law, everybody. Keep this in mind, those rules. So my talk is about objective measurements, how to objectify pain in general. Well, what is an objective way? You do see some oranges. The objective way is these are oranges. None of my patients are saying this is a neuropathic component of 90%. I have 10% nociceptive pain. And maybe, you're right, maybe a 1% neuroplastic pain. Nobody's saying this. These patients are saying, I like it, I dislike it, I love oranges. They are always subjective. It's all about perception. Even if you have a patient treated by Adnan Al-Kaisi, perfect indication, perfect treatment, as usual, I know. But he comes to the out-clinic patient and his mom died the day before, he would say, crap. It's all about perception. And this is a big problem. And on the other way, we are always measuring very subjective items. Pain is very subjective, I do understand that. But we are asking them, what is your VAS score now? Or maybe put a VAS score, a verbal NRS, or n'importe quoi, no matter what. It's always a perception at that moment if you take a snapshot. A lot of RCTs has been built on snapshots. Nowadays we know more about an NRS diary, but still it's a perception. With a diary we can exclude the outliers, but still it's a perception. My mum died, still is dead every day. So this is maybe an outlier, I do understand, but maybe we have to look a little bit further, and especially if we want to have reimbursement and ethical and also economical issues, maybe there is a question about the more objective way. So the definition of objective and subjective is very important. As I mentioned, subjectivity is all about what the patient is saying, what his perception is, the human perception. On the other hand, these are the questionnaires that we are asking in every RCT. This is not an objective way. But money, results, is built on this. Quantitative research. You need numbers. No numbers, lost. Although, this is not how a patient is really. It's only his or her perception. On the other hand, I've never, ever saw a patient in my outpatient clinic who asked me, I would like to have 50% pain reduction measured by the verbal NRS. Oh yeah, and maybe 5 points drop in my Pittsburgh sleep quality inventory. Yeah, that as well. I heard about ODI. I want to increase or decrease. It depends. I want to have it better. None of my patients ask that. None. Do you in Israel? No. But still, everybody is measuring this. Everybody. This is a very subjective way. Don't forget the rules. People lie. Listen. If a patient is coming to me and I'm gonna do this. No, for instance, the patients ask me, how long is the procedure, for instance? That's a common question. If I say, 30 minutes, or I say, 30 minutes, it's still half an hour, but the perception is crucial. This is important. If you talk to patients, if you have a full assessment, you will know this. We are not implanters. We are medical doctors. Don't forget this. Medical doctors care. We care. We talk to patients. If you want to be a little bit further in the discussion of subjectivity and objectivity, it's not black and white anymore. It's not a thing like I said, objective, subjective. There are new concepts built on new definitions between subjectivity and objectivity. You have a lot of other discussions nowadays. So, medicine is not easy anymore. That should be a conclusion. So, take in account that subjective measurements are not maybe the right answer to evaluating patients. If we want to go further in objectivity, one of the topics and one of the most important things in the definition is it should be a tool, an objective tool, which is independent from the operator or the patient's will. We heard, and I'm very pleased with Dr. El-Kaisi's walking and stairs objective measurement, which is a more objective tool compared to a VAS or an ODI, but it is still dependent on the operator's will. My question to you is, do you have such a device in Israel? Because I'm searching for it. Do you have a device to objectify pain? Difficult. Yeah? No way. It's very difficult. So there are some questions that we can ask ourselves. The first question is, can we measure pain? Can we measure pain? Is it a direct measurement or an indirect measurement? I did a lot of research. My PhD, I did that on fMRI. fMRI, EEG, etc. Do you think that's objective? Is that direct or indirect? Ooh, a lot of discussion. We will not go into that. The next question is, yes, what and how to measure? Can it also measure the effects of a treatment, which is also very important nowadays? If we have a discussion about reimbursement and you have the proof that this is effective independently on the will of us and also the patient, maybe that's a good thing. And the last question, is it direct or indirect? I have searched, I've spoken with a lot of colleagues. I found something. I'm going to share it with you. Maybe we can search for sleep efficacy. Sleep efficacy is one of the topics that you would think. If you do a snapshot on sleep efficacy, if your mom died, you will be not that good at sleep. But if you are measuring sleep efficacy with a tool, maybe with a sleep algorithm, and validate it, is also very important. A wearable device, and maybe before and after spinal cord stimulation. If it's direct or indirect, I don't know. And we did some research on that. And this is a very fancy iWatch 5.0 device. However, this is 1,000 euros. It's from Philips, and it's a wearable. It's very easy to analyze, and it's behind that, there is an algorithm specifically to evaluate sleep efficacy, and it's validated for chronic back pain patients. And you can also shower with it. It's waterproof. It's a good thing. So, we did some research on it, and we asked our patients with the questionnaire, the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Inventory, how was your sleep, blah, 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 blah. And we measured as well the sleep efficacy with the wearable device. On the x-axis, you have the mean sleep efficacy. All the dots are patients. The y-axis is the difference between the sleep efficacy of the watch compared to the sleep efficacy measured by the questionnaire. If it would measure the same, it would be 0, the dotted line, which is never the case. Never. And as a human being, as you can see here, these are the people without any good sleep efficacy. They exaggerate, which is totally normal. If you have slept very bad, very badly. What do you say to your boss? I slept horrible. If my wife would ask, how was the day? It was an awful day. If it's not good, you always exaggerate. On that questionnaire, not good, no. If it's good, it's fantastic. So over and underestimation is very common. So there is a difference between the perceived capacity and the actual capability. Another thing. Can we measure another thing? Heart rate variability. Hot topic in other pathologies, but maybe also in pain. We did that before and after spinal cord stimulation. But we don't know if it's direct or indirect. I will show you the results. The conclusion is even more spectacular. Spinal cord stimulation reduces the dominance of the sympathetic system and increases the parasympathetic influence. It means you are calmer. It should hypothesize that the descending inhibitory pathway is stimulated. Is it direct or indirect? I don't know. If it's due to the pain reduction, I don't know. But maybe none of you can change your heart rate variability. None of you. Your heart rate, maybe. But not the variability. I can't change my balance between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic influence. Nah. So maybe this is a more objective tool. The problem is still, is it direct or indirect? And that's still a big issue. I don't have an answer for that yet. Before we go further, because this is now a little bit hocus pocus, I know, let's go a few steps back to our office, to our practice at 2019. Is there something that we can use with the thought that we have on objective measurements? In 2009, the IPG, the restore sensor, had a built-in accelerometer, which was necessary to adapt spinal cord stimulation depending on the position of the patient. You all know that. Nothing fancy. Well, nowadays, not only adaptation, but also measurement is feasible. With the new INTELLIS platform on an iPad, you can show, and that's very important, you can show the patient what his or her positions or the percentage of positions was over a period that you have measured. For instance, you can go, if a patient is saying, last Saturday it was not a good day. And you can say, yes, I do believe you, because listen, you can see it on the screen. It's an enhancement of the rapport that you have between the patient and the physician, or the nurse and the patient. This is a tool that we can use, a more objective tool, based on the positions of patients. And it is very fancy. None of the competitors of the IPGs has such a device built in. And it gives you an opportunity to make rapport with your patient. You can also go to sleep, the component of sleep. You can ask a patient, how did you sleep? If you ask me, how was your night? Okay, not last night, but a week ago, I don't know. People forget. I forget easily stuff. But here you can show them how is the trend over time? Which is important to them as well. So nowadays we have a tool, and maybe the next step would be biofeedback. That the patient will know, oh, now I'm capable to do something. My goals are this, 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 and this. Now I can do it. On a proper way. Because if they do it too soon, they are afraid to do something on a functional way. So sometimes you have now the capability to report on a more objective way with that patient. And the resting trend, you can do it every hour. It depends on the thresholds that you put in. Activity as well. You can say, okay, this patient here, for instance, he is active for 80% of the day, 45% he is standing, and he is only in 25% asleep. Is there a trend? Yes. And why? And etc. So you can easily talk to a patient nowadays. And not only on the activity, also by example, with this IPG, there is also the recharge snapshot. You can say, listen, you're doing great. You don't have to rely all the time on what they are saying. You can also make report. So nowadays, like Dr. Pang said, it should be a collaboration between the patient and the healthcare provider. Like we said, the pilot, we are still the pilot, but they are co-pilots. And the INTELLIS platform can help us in this way. So instead of saying versa, perceived capacity versus actual capability, it should be and. Listen, we want to know what you are saying, what is your perception, but also what are you really doing. And the combination is very important. It's like yin and yang. It's like the rebellion against the empire. Star Wars is always with us. Knowing this, perceived capacity and actual capability, you can work with that patient for his or her future. You can rebuild their lives. And if you're capable to rebuild their lives, you will have success. Thank you.